Hi everyone, this is Richard with Richard Beer Reviews, and today I'm going to review a beer that is made by a local brewery called St. Arnold's here in Houston, Texas. And by the way, why am I wearing my winter hat, my jacket and everything? It's because I am in Houston, and today is February 18th. And most of you that listen to the news, Houston has been like at around between 25 degrees and 20 degrees for the last 3 or 4 days. But that's not the worst of it, is that the state wasn't prepared for it. So the power grids froze, and with the power grids freezing, also the pump water froze. So many homes, including mine, do not had water or electricity for a couple of days. So it's been pretty grueling. And the houses here are not insulated for 20 degrees. So when it gets to that degree, it doesn't matter how low, even if you had power. Like I'm in my house, I did get power back this morning, but the AC doesn't get warm enough to cool the house. I mean, it's okay as long as you're wearing like a jacket inside your house, but it doesn't get it like nice and warm like houses that are designed for this kind of weather. Like when we go to Wisconsin, my wife's family has a house up there, and obviously it gets cold as hell up there, but their houses are designed, insulated for that kind of weather, and the heating systems can handle that. So you can be out there in below zero, you walk into your home, and you're nice and toasty warm. But that's not the case here in Houston because we are not used to 20-degree weathers. So basically the city has been pretty much shut down for the last 2-3 days. The roads are icy, all the cars sliding all over the place. So anyway, we're getting our electricity back little by little, and we're also getting water, a little bit more water pressure. So I got water. Not enough to run the dishwasher, but I do have water enough to fill the toilets and take a long shower because it's dripping basically. So that's why I'm wearing my winter gear inside the house. I am going to talk about a beer today that is it's a style of beer. Even though the beer is brewed from a local brewery called St. Arnold's. And a lot of people are very familiar with the beer because it's very popular. It's called Lawnmower. It's a very nice, refreshing beer. And this beer is the style of beer, like what I mean by style, like is it an Indian Pale Ale? Is it a stout? Is it a porter? Is it a lager or a brown ale? What kind of beer is it? It's a style that most people are not even aware that this style exists. It's got a German word, it's called Kolsh. So it's a Kolsh style. And what is a Kolsh style? Well, a Kolsh style basically is a hybrid of two styles. Okay, so you got an ale, which you guys, most of the beers that I've reviewed are ales because I like tasty beers, and ales are the most tasty beers, and stouts are a type of ale, and porters are a type of ale. So all those beers I've been reviewing, an Indian Pale Ale, it's a type of ale. So all those beers I've been reviewing are all ales, and they're very tasty. And what one thing that defines all ales, beers, and is that their malt is fermented on the top of the tank and is hot fermented, is heated, and is fermented to somewhere around, it ferments for about 79, 80 degrees. And that allows a lot of flavor to come in. The lagers, which is, for example, a Coors, a Budweiser, the beers that we're more used to here that we consider very refreshing. The lagers are bottom tank fermented. So they're fermented on the bottom of the tank, and they also are fermented for a longer period of time, and they're fermented cold. So that's what a lager is, fermented on the bottom, fermented cold. And then an ale is fermented on the top, fermented hot. So what happens if you want to use an ale ingredients and ferment it on the bottom, and fermented cold, fermented like a lager? You get like a hybrid of both, and that is called the Kolsh. So what it's trying to do, most of you guys that drink Coors, Miller Lite, it's a very, very refreshing beer. Very little taste, but it's meant to be drunk really cold, very refreshing. You can chug it down. That's what people like to drink those beers, and there's a place and time. If you're on the beach, you're in a bowl game, perfect beer. Most people that like ales, it's a very flavorful beer. It's mostly a beer you sip, not you chug down. They're usually stronger. So what a Kolsh is trying to do is trying to give you a very refreshing, easy to chug beer, but with more flavor. Basically, that's what it is. So, and the reason the Kolsh came around is because in Cologne, Germany, they were in the 1500s, they were fermenting warm beers, they were fermenting ales. And then the Duke of Bavaria is called, what's his name? Albrecht, Duke of Albrecht. That's what it is. In Bavaria, in order to try to protect the farming, I don't exactly know the details, but he prohibit summer brewing. So all brewing can only be done in the winter. I think he was trying to protect some crops because he didn't want harvesting in the summer because it would kill a lot of crops that needed to grow to the winter. But the point is, all beers, all the lagers were starting to be fermented on the winter. And back then, in the 1500s, like you have air conditioning. So if you're in the winter, you're fermenting cold. And that's kind of how Kolsh came to be. And again, like I've said in the previous videos, the reason the styles have developed in beers is not because of some scientists decide, oh, let's make another style. It's simply because of the situations. And things just change little by little, and then eventually it evolved into a flavor that people go, I like this. And then it became a style. So a Kolsh is a blend of a lager and a stout. A lager and an ale. And I explained before what ales were, but a little bit on lager. What is a lager means? Like I said, lagers are fermented on the bottom and fermented cold, but they're also fermented for longer periods of time. Because I imagine when you ferment cold, it takes much longer to get the flavors out of your malt. So lager means longer. See how technical beer makers are? They called it longer beer because it took longer to make. So that's where the word lager means. It's a German word that means longer. And they take longer. So I'm going to pop this bad boy open here and I'll see you back in a second. 3. Okay, so I went to get my beer. This is the beer I'm talking about. It's called the St. Arnold Fancy Lawnmower. Again, it's very popular here in Houston. I don't know how it fares in the rest of the country, but here in Houston it's very popular. And most people drink this and they find it very refreshing and they don't even realize what kind or style beer it is because it's not an ale and it's not a lager. It's a Kolsh. So when I went to get my beer, I also went to get my glass to drink it. And then it's like, what kind of glass should I put a Kolsh into it? Okay, well, you've seen me. Usually I use a snifter for my all my IPAs or my strong ales. So when I went to get a glass for this, I think, what's the correct glass to drink lagers? Most lagers are drank in a pint. This is a pint, or a mug. A mug like you see in a bar. They hand you a mug, you know, the pirates. Yeah. So anyway, the Kolsh is really designed to appeal to the lager drinkers. It's basically a lager with more flavor. Really what it is. It's not designed to go after the ales market, because if we're drinking an ale is by flavor. And even though this has more flavor than your typical lager, no way comes close to an ale, an Imperial IPA, or a stout, or a porter. Now, again, this is after going after the market of lagers, which is mostly about being refreshing, and it has a little bit of lemony flavors. So the description from the website, St. Arnold's Brewery, says a true German style Kolsh, originally brewed in Cologne, Germany, is crisp and refreshing, just sweet, malty, and balanced. So Kolsh are, like most lagers, they're in the lower percentile of alcohol. Most lagers have somewhere between 3.5 to 4.5. This one actually has 4.9. So it's actually a little high on the alcohol compared to most, but it is not a lager, it's a Kolsh. So, and then the bitterness is 18. So it's extremely low bitter beer. And this will appeal to most people. And it's got a little sweet, fruity flavor to it. And we're going to try it right now. So again, for this, I can use either my mug or the pint. But in this case, since lagers and Kolsches are meant to be refreshing and drunk cold, this one I kept in the freezer, and you can see it's cold. So I'm going to drink it on that. And we'll see how this bad boy does. It's supposed to be, actually, it's cold enough, so I'm going to use the pint so that you can see the color. Lagers, like most, most lagers are going to be very clear in color, and they do a lot of carbonation. That's why lagers and Kolsh, they have a lot of foam when you pour it like that. If you notice, when I pour some of my stouts or my IPAs, they barely had this much head, and this one's just foam up. The carbonation helps open your palate and helps even give you more taste, enjoy more taste. Because remember what I tell you, when you drink it really cold, what does that do to your palate? It shuts down your palate. Obviously, you put anything cold into your mouth, shuts down your palate, but they counteract that with carbonation. Smart. That way you can still drink your beer super cold. And remember, the goal here is refreshing. That's the number one quality of Kolsches and lagers. So we'll see if it is refreshing. Oh, this foam's gonna stick to my mustache. Very good, very good. So if you like a light, refreshing beer, this has a little bit of flavor. You can taste the carbonation, which tastes good. So if you're the kind of guy who likes Budweiser's, Coors, Miller, I suggest give this a try, because it's all of that, but better. Much more flavorful, and still will keep the alcohol level down, and it's not bitter at all. I've explained in the past, when you hear a beer that has an ABV, well, this is ABV of 4.9, that's the alcohol by volume. But when you hear that has 18 IBUs, International Bitterness Units. 18 is very, very low. It's 60 and up is very bitter beer. 18 is basically absence of bitter. So, which makes it very, very refreshing. Carbonation, you can even see the little bubbles going up and down, kind of like if you pour a soda. That's how much carbonation they put on this thing. And but it makes them taste delicious. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this this new type of beer introduction. It's called the Kolsh, and a beer that everybody knows, at least here in Houston, because this is a very popular beer. Now they know all this time they've been drinking a type of beer they didn't even realize it existed. So if you like it, give it a thumbs up on the bottom. And if you want me to review any of your beers, I would love to. And see you later, suckers.